And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And boy, oh boy, we got a fantastic show for you today. We got a lineup that's just going to really excite you. But first off, I want you to know that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it is currently, guess this, 103 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 66. That'll be a nice thing. Unfortunately, not too far from where we're at here in the studio, there's a fire that's going on, and it looks like we're going to keep our firefighters busy for a while. But you know what? Let's get into the news. These are the top things that you need to know for Tuesday. We've encapsulated them so we can deal with them, and then we'll do a little bit more in-depth stuff for you. I also want you to know that on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and we'll continue our segment, the rest of the story. That's the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. And then on today's special segment, we'll have Sean LaFave. He'll be here, and he and I will be talking about healthcare on his Geared for Wellness Corner. We've got a lot of things to talk about today, so let's get to it. This is your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that will be talked about all day today, and probably tomorrow for that matter. And right at the top is how Trump wants to screen terrorists. The Republican presidential nominee says he would impose extreme vetting on immigrants as a means of stopping Islamic State and other militants from entering the United States. And why massive floods caught Louisiana off guard? Well, forecasters say that there was little warning of the sheer intensity of the storm, which dumped over 2 feet of rain in 48 hours in some places. Wow, that's a lot of water, folks. And charges are filed in the New York City imam slaying. Police arrest and charge Oscar Morell, 35 years old, with the murder in the brazen daytime shooting deaths of an imam and his friend as they left the New York City mosque over the weekend. Well, Milwaukee unrest follows decades of racial tensions. The city of 600,000, where violence has erupted after police shooting, is the country's most segregated metropolitan area, a 2012 analysis of census data found. And Biden offers himself as a character witness for Clinton. Campaigning with the Democratic presidential candidate in Pennsylvania, the U.S. vice president singles out her foreign policy experience and passion for improving people's lives. And Guantanamo detainees are sent to the United Arab Emirates. The release of 12 Yemeni nationals and 3 Afghans comes amid a renewed push to cut the number of detainees held at the U.S. prison in Cuba. And what may have triggered reports of gunshots at JFK? Yeah, you heard me right. Travelers at New York's Kennedy Airport cheering and loudly celebrating Usain Bolt's Olympic 100-meter victory may have prompted the ultimately unfounded reports of gunfire there. That's what the police are saying anyhow. And Vanderbilt pays $1.2 million to remove Confederate from dorm name. Well, the money will go to the United Daughters of the Confederacy, who helped to build Confederate Memorial Hall in Nashville, Tennessee, over 80 years ago. And the iconic Vegas landmark will go out with a bang. The remains of the 61-year-old Riviera Hotel and Casino, which hosted Liberace, Dean Martin, and countless other acts, is scheduled to be demolished in an overnight implosion. That'll be happening tonight. And finally, July is labeled the hottest in recorded history. Yeah, and yet there's no global warming, right? You know, the month was 1.51 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the 1950 to 1980 global average, a NASA chief climate scientist has actually said. Well, you know, I don't know what it is. We've got about, I think I read somewhere around 90% of scientists agree that we have global warming, and that a lot of it is caused by man, and some of it not, but it can be fixed, and yet 10% of them are hanging everything up, and I don't know what the issue is. Even if they're wrong, aren't we better off to do something about it? It's just good insurance. Well, let's get on to some more news. Russian warplanes take off from Iran to target the Islamic State in Syria. Russian warplanes took off today from a base in Iran to target Islamic State fighters and other militants in Syria, Russia's defense ministry said, widening Moscow's bombing campaign in Syria in a major development in the country's civil war. A long-range bombers took off from near the Iranian city of Hamdan, around 280 kilometers, it's about 175 miles, southwest of the Iranian capital, and struck targets in 3 provinces in northern and eastern Syria. United States officials said Russia had talked about the possibility of flying planes out of Iran since late last year, but Moscow's decision to do so today came as a surprise. They said the setup at the Iranian air base was established very quickly, perhaps overnight. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss diplomacy in public. Well, meanwhile, though, Syrian opposition activists said that a wave of airstrikes on rebel-held parts of the northern city of Aleppo killed at least 15 civilians and wounded many others today, but it was not clear whether the strikes were carried out by the Russian or Syrian Air Force. Well, time will tell. And who knows if they'll even tell the truth. God only knows. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let me go back here. I think we just had a news flash come up, and so let's see what the heck just came up here. Yep, it sure did. You know what? NBC chairman blasts Trump in a private Facebook post. The chairman of NBC Entertainment slammed Donald Trump, the network's one-time apprentice star, as toxic and demented in a private Facebook post that became public. Robert Greenblatt's post refers to a sad state of affairs thanks to a pompous businessman turned reality TV star who thinks that speaking his mind is refreshing. It's actually corrosive and toxic because his mind is so demented, and his effect will unfortunately linger long after he's been told to get off the stage, the executive said in a post yesterday, which doesn't refer to Trump by name. Greenblatt does not oversee NBC News or its campaign coverage. However, his remarks likely will give critics, the media, an opening for an attack. Boy, I guess. You know what? But you know what? You got to call it the way you see it. That's just the way that it is. Let me give you this one. Congress receives FBI notes from the Clinton interview. Congress received FBI documents related to the agency's recently closed investigation of Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server during her tenure as Secretary of State, lawmakers said today. A spokeswoman for the Republican-led House Oversight Panel said staff is reviewing documents that are classified as secret. Representative Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, said in a statement that the panel received FBI witness interview reports, including that of Secretary Clinton's interview, along with other materials from the FBI's now closed investigative file. You know what? They'll go through them. At some point, either we're going to find something new or we're not, but we got to be done with this thing. Well, let me leave you with this before we take our break. The latest Armenian wrestler wins the Greco-Roman 98-kilogram gold. The latest on the Olympics of Rio de Janeiro. Top-ranked Arthur, and this is going to be a tough one, Alexanian of Armenia easily won the gold medal at 98 kilograms in Greco-Roman wrestling today. I think it's Alexian beat Cuban Yasami Lugo Cabrera 3-0, halting Cuba's attempt to win the Olympic title in each day of the Greco-Roman portion of the tournament. Well, you know what? Good for them. Now, do not go away. When we come back from this brief message, we're going to talk about the Rio police, and they have scant evidence so far in the Lochte robbery probe. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Do not go away. We've got a lot of great show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:12 p.m. Pacific time. It is still 103 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's on its way down to 66 degrees. Can't hardly wait for that. But right now, let's get back to the news. And this is from the Rio Police. There's scant evidence so far in the Lochte robbery probe. Police investigating reports that American swimmer Ryan Lochte and 3 of his teammates were robbed at gunpoint in a taxi so far have found no evidence supporting the account and say the swimmers were unable to provide key details in police interviews. A police official with knowledge of the investigation told the Associated Press that police cannot find their taxi driver or witnesses. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because of the investigation is still ongoing. Lochte's attorney, Jeff Ostro, said there was no question the robbery happened and that Lochte had 24-hour security hired after the incident. He hasn't been leaving his hotel room since. This happened the way he described it, Ostro said. According to Lochte and the United States Olympic Committee, the swimmers were returning to the athletes' village by taxi after a night out at the French Olympic team's hospitality house in the Rodrigo de Freitas area in the upscale south zone of the city. The outing was several hours after Olympic swimming ended Saturday night at the Rio Games. Traveling with Lochte were Gunnar Bintz, Jack Conger, and Jimmy Fagan. Lochte swam in 2 events at the Rio Games, winning gold in the 4x200 meter freestyle relay. He is a 12-time Olympic medalist. Well, I'm guessing the police have got enough stuff on their hands. They're most likely not looking too hard, since nobody got hurt in this case other than financially, I suppose. And then I'm not sure. No, they haven't said how much they got away with. Well, Clinton says Trump's foreign policy is it just absolutely bewilders her. Hillary Clinton vowed today to conduct a national security and foreign policy that Americans could be proud of, saying rival Donald Trump just absolutely bewilders her when he talks about his policies around the globe. Clinton embraced the United States Olympic team's success at a voter registration rally in Philadelphia, pointing to Team USA's gold as an example of an optimistic nation that runs counter to what she considers Trump's pessimism and negativity. It just absolutely bewilders me when I hear Donald Trump try to talk about national security, Clinton said, pointing to Vice President Joe Biden's dissection of Trump's foreign policy at a Pennsylvania event on Monday. What Trump often says hurts us. It sends the wrong message to friend and foe alike. Turning to the Olympic team, she said, Team USA is showing the world what this country stands for. Well, Trump on Monday said the country's national security requirements demanded extreme vetting of immigrants seeking admission to the United States, pointing to the threat of the Islamic State group and terrorism elements, but he offered few specifics about how the process might work or how it would be paid for by the taxpayers. You know, ultimately, that's who pays for it. He can dream of all the things he wants to do with somebody. Somebody is going to get the bill, no question about it. And, you know, in flooded Louisiana, cleanup and a search for bodies, unfortunately. Authorities went door to door and car to car to check for bodies today, and homeowners began the heartbreaking task of gathering up soaked family photos and mucking out houses dank with bayou mud as the floodwater started to recede across parts of southern Louisiana. Even as the water fell in some areas, it was rising in other places downstream where people furiously filled sandbags and fled to shelters. Officials pointed a stark picture of the crisis. So far, at least 40,000 homes are damaged and 11 people killed in some of the worst flooding in Louisiana history, touched off by as much as 2 feet of rain in 48 hours. Over 30,000 people have been rescued since Friday, with more being brought to safety by the hour. Can you imagine? There were scattered reports of looting, and Governor John Bel Edwards said parishes with widespread damage would be placed under curfew beginning this evening. The smell of muddy water hung heavy in the air as people donned surgical masks and began the back-breaking job of ripping out soggy carpet, drywall, and insulation. They cleaned out spiders and cockroaches that had bubbled up through the sewer grates. You know, how sad can it be? It just seems like Louisiana just can't catch a break. You know, just hardly at any event. Well, you know what? What I want to talk about right now, I was going to talk about Clinton, but I'd rather talk to you about the Pennsylvania Attorney General. She resigns a day after her conviction. Kathleen Kane, Pennsylvania's first elected female Attorney General, announced her resignation today, a day after being convicted of abusing the powers of the state's top law enforcement office to smear a rival and lying under oath to cover it up. Kane's exit completes a spectacular fall for the former county prosecutor who soared to victory 4 years ago as an outsider who promised to break up an old boys network in state government. She squandered her early popularity, feuded with rivals and aides, and ultimately was undone by what prosecutors portrayed as a personal vendetta for her critics and perceived enemies. Now, Kane's facing jail time and cannot even practice private law after the suspension of her law license. Kane's office issued a 2-sentence statement saying she would resign at the end of the workday on Wednesday. Well, you know what? Good for her. She needs to resign. Now, do not go away. We're going to take one more short break. When we come back, we're going to do the IRS Loses. And the first case out there that they lost, well, a refund deadline was a mistake. And I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:22 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 103 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. I can't wait for that to start going down. Earlier it said it's going to go down to 66. Now it's saying it won't go down. It'll go down to about 69. That's not all that cool. But you know what? If you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you're in New York City, well, it's 84 degrees and it is clear out there and sunny. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it's 83 degrees with some scattered clouds and a little bit, what's the word I want to use? Humid. I don't know why I was choking on that. Anyway, you know what? Let's get right to it. This is one of my favorite parts of the show, one of yours too, the IRS Loses.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh yeah, you know what? This area here just actually it sends chills up and down my spine, sets the hair up in the back of my neck, and you know, as I've told you many times, I don't have any hair on my head, so that's the only place I can actually have the hair stood up. But let's get right to it. The IRS loses a refund deadline mistake. You know, Richard Perkins owed a tax debt that the IRS sought to collect by levy. He also had overpaid subsequent taxes and asked to have the resulting refund applied against his tax debt. But he had filed those previous taxes more than 3 years late, so the IRS said that he had forfeited the refund. Now, when Perkins asked if anything could extend that 3-year deadline, an IRS agent told him, well, disability, but noted that Perkins hadn't been disabled when he had filed those returns when they were due. He went to court. This is what the judge said. If Perkins had been disabled within 3 years after the returns due date, the extension would apply. And he had been ill during that period, so the levy was stopped and the IRS ordered to re-examine the case. By the way, re-examine the case that he won, and that's a good deal. How about this? The IRS loses. IRS commits fraud on the court. Yeah, you heard me right. The IRS commits fraud on the court in 1,300 tax shelter cases, 1,300 cases. Now, the IRS attacked the tax shelter arrangement that 1,300 taxpayers had invested in. Now, to avoid litigating all those cases, the parties agreed to a test case, with both sides following the result in the other cases. But the IRS offered the taxpayers in the test case a favorable secret settlement if they lost, in lieu of pursuing the appeal. Now, the taxpayers then lost, and the IRS appealed the courtroom result to all of the other cases. Next, word of the secret settlement leaked, and the other taxpayers protested. They went to court. This is what the judge said. The IRS had committed fraud on the court and must apply the terms of the secret settlement to all of the cases. You know what? They just continue to try to get away with nasty stuff. Yeah. Let me give you one last one here. The IRS loses. They abused its discretion in not giving relief to a spouse. You know what? Sometimes they don't even use common sense. In this case, the IRS tried to hold a woman liable for past due taxes owed by her husband, who was a lawyer, who was also a drug abuser. Now, since then he's been disbarred and imprisoned. Now, she sought innocent spouse relief, but the IRS denied it because she had known that that they couldn't pay their taxes when signing their joint return, and she had never divorced or legally separated from her husband. She went to court. This is what the judge said. The IRS neglected to consider important factors. She thought that she was legally separated. Her lawyer husband had deceived her. Her husband had been abusive and kept her from knowing about his finances, and paying his tax would cause her serious hardship. So she deserved the relief. Deserved it and got it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's supposed to work. Well, you ever want to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing stuff? That's where we're at right now with this segment that we call Inside the IRS, very much like the Twilight Zone. Okay, so this is not actually a tax court case, but these are precedents and things that the IRS is doing that you certainly want to know about. And this first one is this is a deal about going to jail for tax crime, even if you reported all of your income. Can you imagine that? Well, when the IRS can't prove that you failed to report all of your income, it may still be able to prove that you committed a tax crime. So you need to be alerted to this. Small business owners have a tendency to hire employees off the books to save payroll taxes, avoid union assessments, and to attract foreign aliens not permitted to work in this country. If the IRS decides to pursue a criminal case, it's going to claim that the small business owner willfully aided and abetted in the filing of false payroll tax returns. And another crime the IRS is going to attempt to charge is obstruction of justice if the person being audited tells his or her friends and business associates what to say or not to say if they're contacted by the IRS. Yeah, get that one down. Let me give you one more before we take our break. IRS whistleblower points the finger at the IRS. So you got to just not only point it, but give it to them. You know what? An attorney currently employed by the IRS publicly expressed concern about the way the Office of the Chief Counsel issued rulings relating to synthetic fuel cases that favored the well-connected oil and gas industry. Well, what's happening now? He has made new claims about special access. Specifically, he claims that the special access is granted to former IRS executives who currently work for large accounting and law firms. So from my perspective, relationships created while working at the IRS, especially at the executive level, can't hurt when it comes to representing the client. However, in my experience, the best accommodation that can be expected is that your client's matter is not put on a back burner if a determination or a ruling time is sensitive. You can only kind of cut time things like that. You can't expect anything else. Now, with that, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with my good buddy Sean LaFave in the Geared for Welding Corner. I have not got a clue about what we're going to talk about today, but I can guarantee you this. Don't go to sleep. Hold on to your chair. This next hour is going to fly by like it never existed. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean LaFave, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics, where at 3:33 p.m. Pacific time, it's still 103 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 69 degrees. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Torrance, California, it's 77 degrees and clear and sunny. And if you're lucky enough to be in Wichita, Kansas, it's 91 degrees, partly cloudy and partly humid. That's where my good buddy Sean LaFave is. Hey, Sean, are you sweating out there? Sean,
well, you know, I'm on here. I'm not sweating. I was a little while ago because I had to get out of the car and walk into the house. But now I'm not sweating because I'm in air conditioning, so it's all good.
Well, that's good. Now, I know you're in Wichita, Kansas, and I know how sometimes not technologically advanced Kansas can probably be, out there in the middle of nowhere. Do you have a swamp? Do you have an air conditioner, a swamp cooler, or you just got a fan over a wet towel?
Yeah, I got a bunch of college cheerleaders in bikinis fanning me.
That would warm things up, actually. That wouldn't cool things off. So listen, my friend, tell me, how'd your weekend go?
It was actually a really relaxing weekend. I didn't do anything that was too stressful. I watched the Olympics, of course, some more, and I did a lot of cooking. Made lasagna and enchiladas and a whole bunch of good, yummy food and breakfast and so whatever else I could get my hands on. And I spent a lot of time in the kitchen, which is something I actually enjoy doing quite a bit when I've got the time to do it. Lasagna is one of those things that I love to cook. It's not hard to do, but it's just time consuming. There's a lot of prep involved and doing it right.
But the aroma while that's in the oven could drive you absolutely batty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then when I make lasagna, I usually make extra sauce, and I'll use the sauce for spaghetti. I'll use the sauce for meatballs. I use the sauce for, you can use that sauce for just about anything.
Oh yeah, so yeah, of course that's just a marinara. So yeah, you can use it for whatever you want. Yeah, it's dipping or whatever. Yeah.
Well, marinara, because you obviously don't put hamburger in yours. I put a mixture of hamburger and pork and some onions in mine, and the marinara becomes a bolognese.
Well, instead of I was just thinking of that marinara sauce I mix it with, but instead of using hamburger, I actually use ground Italian sausage. I take the Italian sausage and cook it up the same way you would ground beef, and I mix that in with the I don't know what it's called when you mix Italian sausage with it, but that's the way I like it. I prefer it with sausage over ground beef.
Yeah, I think it's still bolognese, even if you use Italian sausage. Matter of fact, I think that's the way the real bolognese is made.
Okay. Well, then I must be an Italian or an authentic Italian. Then.
So if I go out today and get the mail, should I be expecting a care package of some of this lasagna?
Yes, absolutely. You should. If it's not there, just keep waiting a little bit longer.
Okay. Well, I'll open up a nice bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape, just waiting for it.
Okay, that sounds fair.
All right, my friend. So listen, what is it we're talking about today?
I don't know. You sent me, and we'll go ahead and just tackle this one right off the bat, just because it's just such a fun topic to discuss. But
global warming.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we can hit on that one if you want. It's
yesterday it was 107 here. Something's getting warm.
Well, it's one of those things that and I don't even know why I spend so much time reading up on this, because I really genuinely don't care. But,
now you're talking. Now that's the Sean that I like to hear from. Because the truth is, who the hell gives a damn? Here's the deal. All I know is it's hot. Now, whether you believe in global warming or you don't believe in global warming, doing something about it isn't going to hurt anybody. Not doing something about it could be a mistake. So you know what? Yeah. It just seems to me that you're right. Who the hell cares? Let's just fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't, if you look at, if you look even through the last 100 years, when they show you the graphs, and it looks like a seismic, graph with the lines going up and down, they're all over the place. What they're doing is they're stretching, they're taking 100 years and then they're showing you the difference in temperature over a matter of like a half a degree. So maybe the chart might range from the average and go up like 0.8 to up or 0.8 down. And so it looks like this huge change. But if you took it in a regular temperature scale of 0 to 100 and you ran it over 100 years, it would just look like a flat line. You wouldn't even see the difference.
Well, in the news today, one of the major things in there is that we experienced the hottest July in history or recorded history. And although it kind of falls in line with what you just said, the hottest July in recorded history was only about 1.5 degrees hotter than the hottest July before this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is the temperature hasn't changed much. Even if you go all the way back to, the hottest year that we're aware of as far as in the last 2,000 years, you could literally go back, hundreds of thousands of years if you really wanted to. And if you look, you go back about every, we have about a 50,000 year cycle where temperatures peak and then they drop, and then they peak and then they drop. And really they change in a matter of a 50,000 year span about, maybe 2 to 4 degrees or something like that. It's not about 4 degrees, I think. And so, 4 degrees, yeah, that's significant in the big picture of things. But, when you're talking the span of, I don't even know how many times our life that is, 50,000 years. And we're talking over the last, several 100,000 years. It's a pretty consistent trend. They took ice, they call it the Epoca temperature scale. It's from the Antarctica ice. They basically go in, and I don't know how these guys figure this stuff out. That's, again, something I don't care, but it's kind of interesting. But, they're able to tell you what the temperature was 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years, 800,000 years ago. And basically, if you look at it, it's just an up and down. It's just a roller coaster. And it really hasn't, and we're still going to go through that, and we're seeing little tiny bits. Like you said, the biggest difference in temperature is 1.5 degrees. Worldwide, if you look at the last couple thousand years, which is still insignificant in the big picture of how long this planet's been around. 2,000 years is a flash. But is that the big issue, or is the big issue that we're putting so many pollutants in the air that we are destroying that Van Allen belt that holds all of this atmosphere here on our Earth that we require to maintain life? Yeah, I just don't see that, we're destroying. I think that the planet is going to. Wait a minute. You're
into holistic medicine. I didn't know that you were into all this scientific stuff.
Yeah, I know, exactly, right? Again, I don't know, like I said, I don't know why I read up on this stuff. I don't care about global warming, but I do care about the environment, and I do care about, how toxins and how, what's going on in our environment does affect our health, because that part of it really does affect my job.
Yeah.
But so I do get stuck on reading these articles on global warming and climate change. They used to call it, I know I said this before, they used to call it global warming. Now they say climate change, so it doesn't matter what it does, they can just call it climate change. It gets colder, it's still climate change.
Yeah.
But we had our peak period around, the year 850 or so was when we have, the temperatures are supposedly the hottest on the planet, in the last 2,000 years. And then, it's, not, in fact, it wasn't long after that the Vikings actually discovered Greenland. And, of course that would make sense, because maybe there was less ice, but they could, travel. The temperature was a little bit warmer. It wasn't significantly. We're talking less than a degree.
Did you ever wonder why they named Greenland Greenland and Iceland when Iceland is green and Greenland is full of ice?
Yeah, well, I assume it's to keep people, Iceland, I think, was to keep people away. And Greenland, maybe they wanted people to come and inhabit it. I don't know. That's the only thing I've ever heard, because I've never been to Greenland. I've flown over it and I've looked down and I'm like, yeah, this looks like a place I want to go.
Yeah.
And I've been to Iceland twice, and I would love to go back. Iceland is an absolutely wonderful place, and there's so many exciting things. They've got the what they call the Blue Lagoon there. They've got that big hot spring where you could go and soak in that natural hot mineral water, and it's just a lot of fun. And they've got volcanoes, and they've got the volcano beds.
I don't understand why you'd really want to leave the magnificent paradise of Wichita, Kansas.
Well, it's I'm just it's crazy, I guess.
I'm just trying to get you in trouble.
The grass is greener on the other side of the ocean, apparently.
Yeah.
But no, it was global warming. Even what we had back, around the year 1600, we had, from about 14 to 1800 around there, but it peaked around 1600. We had what was called the Little Ice Age.
I just admire you so much for being able to recall things that long ago.
Well, I was pretty young back then, but I used to listen to the old folks tell all the stories, and I paid attention. So, we didn't have tablets, so oral tradition was everything. So we had the Ice Age back then, and they called it the Little Ice Age. It really wasn't an ice age, but they call it the little. It's like, instead of having a depression, it's like a recession. And so we've been on a steady climb upwards since then, around, 1800, temperatures started to drop even more, but then, after the 1900s, actually around 1900 or so, temperatures started coming back up again. And so now we look at it over the last 100 years and we go, oh my gosh, global warming, because we think that somehow our life, my life over the last 47 years and my grandfather's life over the last 100 plus years, or, whatever, that's all that really matters. And I think that, when people, listen to these politicians,
I got to stop you. Wait a minute. So what you're saying is that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren don't count in this scenario?
No, I'm actually saying exactly the opposite. That's my point, is that we think that our life matters more because we're just looking at this snapshot over the last, 100 years. And if you've never, let's take my son, for instance. He's 20 years old. Most of his life, the average worldwide temperatures have remained at zero change. From I was just reading an article about this, from 1996. He was born in October of 95, so from the year after, so just a few months after he was born, and this data went from 1996 into 2014. The average temperature change is basically zero. It's not even 0.1 degree. It's zero. And so so you tell someone like my son, temperature, you talk about global warming, he's like, well, I don't see it. Of course he doesn't see it. He's only 20 years old. Yeah. If he was 100 years old, he'd probably notice a difference because over the last 100 years, temperatures have slightly risen. But, over the course of history of mankind, or even far beyond mankind, temperatures really haven't done anything except oscillate back and forth, and that's what they're doing now. And
explain to me so that I can understand it, why it is that 90% of the scientific environment believes in global warming, only 10% do not believe in it. Why the 10% is right and the 90% is wrong?
I don't think that 10% are right and 90% are wrong per se, just like absolutely, because the 90% are right. We do have global warming, but they're not looking at it compared to, the last 1,000 years. Yeah. They're looking at it compared to the last, we're looking at, modern recorded history. Yeah, we do have global warming. It's a very small amount. It's less than a degree change, but to them, it's significant. I saw something, I can't remember what it was. It's, where I saw this, but there was an expedition that was going up to the North Pole to study and get data to validate their theory of global warming, and because of whatever was going on up in the North Pole, there was more ice developed than normal, and they got frozen and stuck in place, and they were stuck up north somewhere trying to prove global warming, which I thought was funny.
Well, yeah, but let's give this a different perspective. Today, right here in God's country, in the Inland Empire, it is 103 degrees. Yesterday was 107. But 103 degrees. And if what they're saying is that the hot temperatures are rising by 1 to 1.5% a year, let's just say 1%. In 30 years, on this day, I can expect a 133 degree temperature. I don't think that's going to be very healthy.
Yeah, well, and again, you're looking at, you're going, okay, if you're in the Inland Empire, XYZ, again, you're taking a snapshot of one little spot in one little country.
Well, yeah, but there's a reason they named Death Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
The San Joaquin Valley also gets a lot of heat. Arizona, Nevada gets a tremendous amount of heat. New Mexico. And so now all of a sudden, we're not talking about the Pacific Northwest, but now all of a sudden you're talking about a major portion of the United States that gets a really significant amount of heat. Now, does that also mean that the low temperatures are going to get lower by a degree a year? And if it does, when we have 39 or 40 degree temperature here in good old sunny Southern California, is that in 30 years, does that mean we're going to have 10 degrees above zero?
Yeah, I know that part. That's an interesting question. I've never actually looked at the potential change in low temperatures as opposed to high temperatures.
Because 30 years is really not that long, is it? I mean, you could still be alive 30 years. I probably won't be, but you could still be alive 30 years from now. And certainly, there's a
lot of people that would argue with you on that one. There's a lot of people that are surprised I'm still alive. But well, I got to tell you something funny. I had a buddy of mine when I went through my divorce. Of course, you change everything once you go through divorce. And I had this life insurance policy on myself. And of course, my ex-wife was the beneficiary. And of course, I didn't want that to stay that way. Mm-hmm. So I changed it. And I called up my buddy Al. He lives in Carlsbad, California. Mm-hmm. And I said, Al, I need to get your social. So I'm going to put you on my life insurance policy. He's like, what? Why are you putting me on? I'm like, well, the only people I have are you and my son that I really, that I think could really benefit if something happened. I've got this policy. And so I'm going to I need you to be, my son's not 18, so you're going to be the beneficiary. I'm going to give you half, and then the other half you're going to take care of for him. And he's like, so I get half. He goes, how much is the policy? I think it was like $500,000. He's like, so I'm going to get $250,000 if you die. I said, yeah. He goes, sweet, this is like winning the lottery, man. He goes, this is a way more sure bet, though. So you got to love your
I can hear it now. How healthy are you, and where will you be at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning?
Exactly. Yeah. All of a sudden, all those salads that he used to give me, he started giving me bacon cheeseburgers and pork chop sandwiches for some reason. I don't know why. It's crazy. So yeah, I have no idea how we got it. Oh, we're going to be alive 30 years from now. It's one of those things like, okay, again, we can't take a snapshot of even just the United States. Like even that article you sent me had a picture of the United States, all this red, all these hot temperatures in the United States. Well, the North America average temperatures have increased a little bit, but really in South America, they've seen almost no change. It's actually been
but Sean, where do you and I live?
Well, I know we live in California, Southern California.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
So that's what we're concerned about.
You bet. You bet.
But out on the coast, we're not feeling that heat. At least they aren't. In fact, even here in Kansas, my first summer that I spent in Kansas was in, when was that? I don't remember what it was. It was 1990. Gosh, when was that? I can't even remember. I don't know. Anyway, my first summer, it was like, we were talking 17, 18 years ago. My first summer here, and I'm trying to block out all that memory. That's how much I don't even know why I'm still here.
Well, yeah, but Kansas doesn't count. They have a direct line to the Wizard of Oz, for God's sakes.
Well, yeah, you would think. But my first summer here, which was about 18 years ago, I guess now, maybe 18 to 19 years ago, was the month of August had 21 days in it that were over 100 degrees. And I'm sure that a lot of people were talking about global warming back then, and it was hot and it was miserable. I'm going, oh my God, why did I move here? It was crazy. Yeah, it was 1998 was when I moved here. So that's exactly when it was. It was 98, 99 actually was my first full year here. So my first summer here was summer of 1999. Yeah, so 17 years ago. And so that's a lot. 21 days that were over 100 degrees just in the month of August. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm in August here. We're actually just barely over halfway through August. And so far, I haven't seen a single day in the month of August, I think, that's been over 100 degrees. It may have touched 100 degrees, but I don't think it got much over. But right now, like you said, it's 91 degrees here, and the trend for the rest of this week is it's just going to keep cooling down, and by Saturday, it's supposed to be a high of like 80 or 81 degrees. Okay, so for Wichita, Kansas, we're actually seeing a cooling trend compared to at least when I moved out here 17, 18 years ago. So
are you convinced that that's Fahrenheit and not centigrade?
Yeah, some days I wonder. Even today I went outside and I'm like, gosh, it's only 90 degrees out. It feels a lot hotter. But again, we do get that humidity out here that I'm just not used to. But when I think people, they want to live in this bubble, and like I said, that article that you sent me, you just had a picture of the United States, and we want to say, here in the United States, temperatures have gone up, and so it's easy to convince someone who lives in an area that is getting a little bit hotter. But there are other parts of the world where that's just not happening, and it really all balances out, and the overall change is very insignificant. And when you look at it over the course of 100 years, yeah, it's a little bit of a change. Over the course of 1,000 or 2,000 years, matter of fact, if you look at it over the last what we guess here, it would be the last 1,200 years, we're actually on a cooling trend. If you go back and you just take the data and you start from 1,200 years ago, to today, we're on a cooling trend, and so that totally invalidates everything. So it's a matter of, you can take, it's like they say, there's three kinds of lies. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And, you can take your statistics and you can start with your starting point and go, look at this. Since the year 1900, because we love the year 1900 in this country because, nobody's grandparents that are still alive that were born before the 1900s. My grandfather was born in 1889. But we know a lot of people who were born in the 1900s. And so when we talk about the 1900s, we feel very comfortable with that number. Well, I said, go back to the year 1800, a lot of people go, well, that's so long ago. Like, there's nobody even alive from the 1800s anymore. That's just so psychologically, when you present data to someone and you're going back for 200 plus years, they really don't wrap their mind around it. But I can wrap my mind around the year 1900 because I was born in 1969, and that starts with the same two digits, So
I'm not even going to let you draw me into that.
But you were born in you were born in was it 1901? I think.
Not that quite that early, but yeah, I can remember when we had ice trucks in the neighborhood, and when we had an ice box, that's what it really was. It wasn't a refrigerator. You put these big, huge blocks of ice in an ice box, and that's how you kept your food cold. So I do remember that. The other interesting thing is I read about it somewhere, and that is that recently they did a measurement, and you know how the Earth is on its axis, and it's actually tilted on its axis, that it actually varies now between 1.5 degrees on that tilt. If it shifts more than that, the United States could wind up a part of the year being on an equatorial plane, which means it could be hotter than hell.
Exactly, it will be. In fact, we do know that the axis, that every, if you look at maps from, even 50 years ago, and they have, north, and then they have compass north, and they have true north on there, that they're different 50 years ago than they are today, because we know that the axis does shift, and that's normal. But what we also know, and I can't remember the timeline, and it's like, every so many 100,000 years, or I don't know if it's a million or whatever million years, but we know that axis actually reverses.
Well, I do know that because I've got a pilot's license, and I can tell you that the difference between true north and aviation north is 5 degrees.
Yeah.
And listen, having said that, we've got to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation, see if we can't solve this problem with my good buddy Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away, folks. We've got a lot of good stuff for you. We'll be right back. Sean, look this stuff up. I don't want to be lying to people.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. God, it's still 103 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're on our global syndicated network and you're listening to us in Paris, France, well, it's 72 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it's also 72 degrees and clear. Sean, what the heck are we doing in the United States with that kind of weather all over the world? You know what?
I don't know.
Earlier,
we should be in Spain drinking cafe con leche or something. I don't know, man.
Absolutely.
Or sangrias.
You know, I actually made an error when I was talking last. I had said something about True North and Aviation North. Aviation North is what I meant to say was Magnetic North. I'm not sure if it's 5 degrees or 15 degrees. It's been a long time since I've actually checked that out, which is why. But I think it's 5 degrees difference, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, 5 degrees sounds right, yeah, because I'm pretty sure 15 sounds like way off. Yeah, 5 degrees sounds pretty accurate to me. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's around there. I know it's a single-digit number. It's not 15, so yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, but it's interesting, you know, I'm certainly not a scientist and, or not, you know, not that way anyway. And so when you start thinking about some of the stuff that we're being spoon-fed, if you start, you know, and rather than just accept it, if you just start thinking about it in a logical way, your mind starts to create questions that they're not answering, sort of like what I was espousing a little bit earlier, because I don't know that any of that's true. You know, what I was saying was just logically from what I'm reading, gosh, then you could actually matriculate this out, and then it becomes a very concerning issue, right? So, you know, how do you determine, you know, I do a lot of reading, you do a lot of reading, how do you determine what you read is accurate, true, and what you want to retain as being factual, as opposed to it's something you read and you don't really know about it. You know, it could be propaganda.
Yeah, and that's where you end up having to dig in deeper if you really want to know the truth. And there's a term for that, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically, kind of a psychological term, whatever you want to call it. It's that we tend to find things that we want to find. If we have a preset notion in our mind of what truth is, that what we really do is we are by default going to want to look for those things that validate that. And so I know for me, a lot of times I really have to step back and I have to go, okay, am I looking at this logically, or am I trying to find what I want to find in here? And that's with everything, whether it's, vaccines or medicine or business or, politics or whatever the case might be. I mean, there are times that I even step back from the political stuff and I go, am I looking into this and seeing what I want to see, or am I actually reading this right? And that usually means a lot more research and at least sitting down and writing things down. And that's why I say I don't know why I spend so much time reading on stuff like global warming, because the big picture, and you and I have talked about this before, the big picture really shouldn't be global warming, because just like I said, if you took a global warming chart and went back to even the 1800s, let alone to the year zero, or go back 10,000 years, people aren't going to be able to wrap their minds around that. And I consider myself a fairly intelligent guy, and I study a lot. I read a lot. I don't watch a lot of, useless TV. I'm not the guy that sits down. I literally saw someone on a Facebook post. That's probably my biggest brain dead thing that I do. But the funny thing is I get a lot of news from Facebook. But someone put a Facebook post on, like, why is King of the Hill not on TV anymore? And I'm like, because you're an idiot. You need to go do something productive with your life. But, that's my first initial response. Like, really? You King of the Hill? This is a grown man. We're not talking someone who's like, 19 years old. We're talking who is still actually 19-year-old is still a grown man. But I'm talking a guy like, roughly my age. Yeah. Like, why are you watching King of the Hill? This is an animated TV show that, it's on prime time, but, it really has zero intellectual value. Your brain, I'm pretty sure, kind of dies. A couple of brain cells die off, watching this show. But anyway, I don't watch stuff like that, but when I think of global warming, it's just too big for me, and maybe that's part of why I don't want to believe it. But also, when I do the research, I go, it just doesn't make sense either. And so I look at it and I go, why are they feeding us this propaganda? Why would Obama stand up in front of a military school or, military men in uniform and men and women in uniform and say, global warming is our biggest threat to our nation and you all are going to need to prepare to fight it, when really what we need to do is, and this is what you and I have talked about before, is just act locally, Yeah. If I live in Southern California, what I should really be concerned with is Southern California. If I can take care of Southern California and Chicago can take care of Chicago and Moscow can take care of Moscow and so on and so forth, then really global warming is a non-issue. Yeah,
you're right. If everybody does their own part, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Even in the United States or even in these modern nations, first world nations, even if they did everything they could, these third world nations are never going to do it, which means that you're never going to accomplish the goals that you want to do. It takes us back to that TED speech that Bill Gates did that you had sent me. That was just really, it really puts everything in perspective as to what this challenge really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a massive challenge, and you're right. A lot of countries, most countries out there, they aren't going to make the changes. One, the changes are expensive. Two, their government is even more corrupt than ours, which is a sad statement. And so they don't have the regulations in place for things like emissions and so on. And so it's, we can do our part here in the United States. Europe can do their part, other countries, but with the big picture, there's still a lot of parts of the world where it's not going to change. Does that mean that we should just say screw it and, go out and just, drive, we should all drive 1967 Ford pickups? Well, probably not. But, we should probably still try to do our part. But, eventually, hopefully this will bleed over, the technology. The technology that these third world countries are using are stuff that we abandoned, 40 years ago. And so, if we do our part now and it makes a little bit of a difference, well, maybe eventually that technology is going to bleed over into other countries. It's going to become cheaper and more efficient for them to use, and they're going to have to replace their factories with something. And so it might be old technology, but at least it's old technology that's not as bad as the stuff they were using.
Yeah, unfortunately, what's going to happen there is as we become more technologically advanced, these first world countries, we're going to send off our antiquated equipment and technology off to these third world countries, and that's the only way they're going to get any advancement because they can't afford it. They just don't have the way of getting it, and unless we give everything a priority, it's just simply not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that, are we going to make a difference? And again, I just don't see where Obama is going with this thing where he keeps spouting off about, this is our biggest national threat and we need to be prepared to fight this war. I'm like, well, it's not a war. It's something where it's like saying, hey, you know what? We need to fight the war. Like I need to declare war on myself for eating Twinkies. Well, all I need to do is just stop eating Twinkies and we're done. So there's really not a war to fight. And that's the part that I don't get is why he keeps calling this a war is we're going into some battle when there are so many other things that are so much more pressing, everything from, actual real terrorists who want to come over here and slit our throats to, what's going on in Milwaukee. What's going on in Milwaukee is a much greater threat right now than global warming in most people's eyes, and he's out playing golf right now. So I don't quite get that one, but whatever, it's what it is.
Wow. You're full of profound thoughts today.
Today's been one of those days. I went through about probably 4 periods today. I look like a climate change graph today in my mood swings. I've been all over from everything like, all right, now I'm going to get this done to why am I even trying?
I'm just trying to catch up between. We started off with global warming, and I'm trying to catch up to where we got with Obama on the golf course.
Yeah, how did we get to Milwaukee and Obama playing golf? Exactly. It's all connected. It's all connected somehow. I'm sure it's George Bush's fault, whatever it is. But
well, of course it is.
Yeah. So, I can't believe George Bush isn't out visiting Louisiana right now with all that flooding. He's such a racist.
Oh man, you want to talk about a world of hurt? Louisiana is really going through it. They got 2 feet of rain in 48 hours. Holy cow! Those people in Louisiana just can't catch a break.
Yeah. I know it's there's a reason why there are certain places in this world that I just don't ever want to live, and that's one of them. And that's a big reason. Any place that can flood that bad. Yeah. In fact, when I was active duty out in the Air Force, I lived at Grand Forks Air Force Base, and that was about 15 miles from the city of Grand Forks, North Dakota, which was right on the Red River. And it was like almost every year, the Red River would swell and it would flood and it would pour over. And we were down there, filling up sandbags and piling sandbags to make these dikes. And I'm thinking, why don't you people just build a wall around this thing and get it over with?
The interesting thing, that's in New Orleans. That's exactly what they did. They built these levees, but they busted. Remember that when was it Katrina that went through the levees busted?
Yeah, that was.
Oh my gosh!
When you build a city below sea level, you just got to expect something to break eventually. It's like again, that's a place I would love. It's funny. I've been all over this country, and I've been to northern Louisiana, but I've never been to New Orleans. And everybody I've ever talked to who's ever been there says it's such a fun town to go visit.
Oh, it is fantastic. It is phenomenal. My wife Marlene and I have been there many, many times.
Have you ever during Mardi Gras? Because I've heard some people, younger people will go, "Oh, Mardi Gras is awesome." I've got some people tell me, don't even go during Mardi Gras because it's just a crazy show.
No, been to Mardi Gras twice, and it is a crazy show. Mardi Gras goes on for a long. It's not just one day. It's they have multiple parades every day, all different times of the day, and it's really an exciting thing. But during Mardi Gras, you really have to be aware of where you're at and what's around you, because New Orleans is not the safest city in the United States.
Yeah. That's what I've. You can get yourself in a world of hurt if you're not if you don't have good situational awareness.
Yeah, but if you want to go there for a long weekend, boy, you can it can be, and maybe not even during Mardi Gras. You can go during the jazz festival, or just go when there's nothing going on. New Orleans and Bourbon Street and the French Quarter and the restaurants, and it is a place that's unique to the United States, totally American, and it is phenomenal, from the people to the food to the geography, just phenomenal.
Well, I'll have to go check it out. But definitely not a place I'd ever plan on living. I just don't want to live anywhere where it can possibly flood at all. Where it's living in a floodplain just has zero appeal to me at all. I don't want to ever come home and see my furniture, floating in my living room.
On the other hand, I'm waiting for a day that you and I are on the air together, and you're going to say there's a tornado coming.
It's funny. I lived here in Wichita for 15 years, and I actually tried to go out and look for tornadoes, and I've never seen one. Not one tornado.
Good.
I'm okay with that, but I kind of like to see one just once. I'm kind of one of those guys that's just like, I don't know, I like to do stupid stuff, but I'm a typical guy, but I wouldn't mind going out and being in one of those, tornado storm chaser vehicles, and kind of get.
You're nuts. Did you know that? You are absolutely at, a can short of a six-pack. You want to be one of those tornado chasers? I got to tell you, I don't want to be anywhere near those things.
Yeah, I just want to see one just one time, but I haven't yet. I came up with this idea that everyone around me says you're an idiot and shot me down for this, but I thought it would be awesome. And actually, I've had several people go, that would be a lot of fun. However, the liability behind it would be outrageous. I called it it's called a hurricane ball, and basically it's a huge sphere. Very reinforced. I don't know if it's metal or whatever you want to make it, carbon fiber. It's this big sphere that is in the middle of it is a chair that you strap into, and this thing closes around you, and you're on a full 360-degree suspension system, right? And then you throw this big sphere on the back of a flatbed pickup truck, drive into the path of a tornado, kick the ball off, and then of course the truck drives away, and then the tornado picks you up in this big sphere and just throws you across whatever Midwestern plain farmland you happen to be sitting in, and so you get to actually tell people that you rode a tornado, and live to talk about it. But apparently the biggest thing I got was, what happens if that goes into someone's house and destroys their house? Then you're going to have to pay for it. And so that was the biggest objections that I had. It really wasn't even a safety issue, but I thought it would be a fun idea to have this big hurricane ball and just strap yourself in and go for a ride.
Sean, you're weird.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times.
Yeah. I mean, good God Almighty.
There's someone out there listening to us taking notes going, hey, that's kind of a good idea.
I mean, there's
some engineer who has the same mindset as me going, I could make that.
I can, if we have a screenwriter or a director or somebody out there listening to us, I can see this as a movie.
Absolutely.
And then it sends you into another dimension.
Exactly. If they can make a movie about sharks in a tornado, certainly this would make
Yeah.
Certainly this would work.
Yeah, sharks in a tornado.
Sharknado.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know how we got to tornadoes out of.
Are you kidding? I don't remember when we left global warming, and we wound up on a golf course out in Martha's Vineyard somewhere, and now we're in the middle of Kansas in this sphere that has you strapped to a seat going around in a tornado. I have totally lost control of where we're going with this show.
I feel like Rod Sterling's going to step out here in just a little bit.
All right. Listen, I also sent you a deal that they have an outbreak of polio. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
you know what? We got to take a break in 2 minutes.
We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk about polio.
Okay, let's do that. Let's take the break now, and then we'll come back, and that way we don't have to be interrupted on this thing. How's that sound?
Awesome.
Okay, we'll be right back with Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We're going to talk about the outbreak of polio, and I believe that it's in Africa someplace, but he'll tell us. I don't remember. We'll be right back with Sean after these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Dental Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:21 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 102 degrees. It went down 1 here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And as Sean likes to say, I am in the middle of this intersection and I still haven't been hit by a truck or anything yet. We're on our way down to 69 degrees, which doesn't sound all that cold. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in London, England, it's 61 degrees and it is clear. And if you're in Vienna, Austria, it is 64 degrees and mostly cloudy. And if you're in Wichita, Kansas, you're lucky because you're in the same place that my good buddy Sean LaFave is. And Sean, when we left, we were talking about that article I sent you on the outbreak of polio. And was that in Kenya or that was someplace in? It was in Africa, but it was in Nigeria.
In where basically Boko Haram kind of area.
Yeah,
it's a war-torn area. Is that they pronounce it Haram?
Yeah, Boko Haram. Yeah, Boko Haram.
Boko Haram.
Now, what constitutes?
I guess it's different than Haram, isn't it?
Yeah, what constitutes an outbreak? What constitutes something more than just an isolated case?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really know the actual CDC or, World Health Organization guidelines for, outbreak as opposed to an isolated case, as opposed to, when does it become an epidemic and those kind of things. In this case, it's actually only 2 kids. It was 2 toddlers. Now, granted, they were both paralyzed from this. And the thing to remember is this is in a part of Nigeria where, I kind of read through the article just to kind of see what was going on. And as the headline reads, is Nigerian helicopters rush polio vaccines to dangerous area. Well, they're not just Nigerian helicopters; they're actually military helicopters.
Well, but once you develop, I shouldn't say kid. Once you develop polio, that vaccine is useless, isn't it?
But yeah, the vaccine is no good for you once you develop it. But what they're assuming, I guess, is if 2 kids have gotten it, certainly the strain must be in that area. So let's go ahead and vaccinate everyone in that area who hasn't been vaccinated yet. And I think part of the reason why they haven't been vaccinated in that area is because it is so war-torn. And like I said, they had to bring in military helicopters just to deliver this stuff because, it wasn't safe for a civilian helicopter to get in there. And so, when you have a region, why there? Why did it happen there? And that's the big question, why not somewhere else? And it's kind of like, a lot of other things too is, when we see a resurgence in any type of disease, any type of communicable disease, usually it's not going to happen in Malibu. Let's just say it that way. Okay. Yeah. It's going to be in some place where sanitation is a problem. And really when you look at historically, in spite of what the vaccine proponents would love to tell us, that really the thing that affected the most change when it came to wiping out a lot of these communicable diseases was our sanitation changes that we made over the course of the last 150 years, things like plumbing and better sanitation systems. And so we have a cleaner environment. And when you've got a cleaner environment, you have less of a chance of these diseases breeding and growing. And I mean, even think about, the thing in Orange County with the measles outbreak, as they called it. But where did it happen? It happened in a place where there's a large group of people and they're all touching each other and they're all sneezing on each other and there's a lot of kids with snotty noses running around. Is Disneyland. Disneyland is a clean place. Piece of trash. Anyone who works in Disneyland, if they see a piece of trash, they're required to pick it up.
It doesn't get being cleaned. Yeah, it doesn't get better maintained than Disneyland.
It doesn't get better maintained than that. But you still have people who may or may not have taken a bath that day or that week, and they're running around and you're bumping into people, you're standing in line. If you're standing in line for a ride, I guarantee you're going to be making contact with some person that you don't know. Yeah. And that's just normal in the lines. For those who have never been to Disneyland, you go to Disneyland, if you're there for 12 hours, you spend 8 of those hours standing in line body to body with strangers. That's pretty much the way it works. And then the other 4 hours, let's just say then out of those 4 hours that are left, about 30 of that is actually being on a ride, and then the other 3.5 is sitting down eating food that you paid 3 times more than you should have had to pay for to eat. But it's a wonderful experience. I still, I've got friends that out there that have annual passes, and I'm going, why? It's just like I think if I went once every 10 years, that would probably fulfill me.
Well, you're absolutely right. I remember a number of years ago, we bought our kids passes. Our kids and our grandkids bought them passes for Disneyland, and after about a year, they were sick of it. They just weren't interested anymore, right? And I think the majority of people that visit Disneyland are visiting from other parts of the country or from other countries. It's really not local. I mean, you and I, we live here in Southern California. Disneyland is not our first thought of a place to go for recreation.
No, there's a ton of. I'd rather go to the beach by far any day of the week, And I remember one year when I was living here in Kansas, we went. Boy, talk about a total tangent. This isn't even closely related to what we were talking about. But I went on vacation there, and on that vacation, we went to Disneyland, Legoland, and SeaWorld, and Victor was gosh, what was he, 8 or 9 years old or something like that? And by hands down, by far, his favorite place of the 3 was Legoland down in Carlstadt, and then his second favorite was SeaWorld, and then he said that Disneyland was fun, but he liked the other 2 a lot better, you know. So anyway, so point was of that is, you know, you've got Disneyland, you've got all these people together, they're touching, you know, they're in close contact, and, you know, who knows, you know, they believe that the person who brought it in may have been someone who brought it in from another country, and like you said, you got visitors from all over the world, and you don't know what kind of country they come from, you don't know what their sanitation level is, you don't know, you know, whether, you know, what their healthcare level is, you know, on and on. And so that's, you know, so that's a perfect environment for even something like measles to grow as clean as Disneyland is, because there's so many people packed into one small little area. I mean, imagine a town of, you know, 5,000 people, you know, all of a sudden has 25,000 people in it. You know, gosh, wow. You know, you're shoulder to shoulder, and that's exactly what it's like there. It's Disneyland is not a very big area, but there are thousands and thousands of people there at one time. And so for a place like Nigeria, in a war-torn area where people are, you know, poor, and I mean they're poor even by African standards, you know, which, you know, in this country, a poor person here is doing great compared to African standards. Sure. And so. So it's no big surprise that you know that you know, polio's outbreak is going to happen in that part of the world. You know, it was 2 kids. You know, they both were apparently paralyzed from it. And, you know, India's had a huge problem with polio and outbreaks of polio from the vaccine itself. And matter of fact, every case of polio here in the United States for the last 25 to 30 years, that have been, I think it's close to 30 years now, all of them that have been contracted in the United States are a direct result of the polio vaccine. You know, so we do know that polio is still around. It's not like polio doesn't exist. You know, it's not like.
But you know, the thing that I find interesting is I remember years ago I belonged to the Rotary Club, and they had a big campaign that Rotary wanted to contribute to eradicating polio worldwide, and supposedly they had gotten either very close to it or they'd attained it or whatever had happened, and now all of a sudden you see these other cases popping back up again. How does that happen? If you supposedly, like smallpox, you eradicate the thing, how does it come back?
Yeah. You know, smallpox supposedly only exists in 2 places, and that's in Atlanta at the CDC, and then I don't know where, somewhere in Russia, their version of the CDC, they have measles I'm not sorry, measles, but smallpox, I mean, in a petri dish, just like we do here in Atlanta. But, you know, it's like anything else. That stuff lays around dormant. You know, it's still, you know, just because it's not, you know, we think we've eliminated it, and there's a difference between eliminated and eradicated. You can eliminate a disease from an area, but it's still in other areas. We know that we have not eradicated means it doesn't even exist anywhere on the face of the planet, except like for smallpox, like in a petri dish or something. So you can eliminate something, and when we hear the word eliminate, I think when you eliminate something, it's gone, but that is not the technical definition of it. When you've eliminated the disease, it just means that it's not alive and active. It's still there. It's just that it's not really active. And so all it takes is, you know, poor sanitation. Someone has a weak immune system. You know, maybe people are being exposed to low levels of polio from time to time, but their body can fight it off and it doesn't take a foothold. And all of a sudden now you're in a place like here in Nigeria where, you know, sanitation is poor. They're in a war-torn area. You know, people don't have, you know, the cleanliness level and on and on. And maybe their immune systems are shot. Maybe they're not getting the kind of foods that they need for their body to be strong. And someone gets polio and boom, you got a 2-year-old that now is paralyzed from polio because they live in a part of the world that doesn't have the resources like we do in Orange County, California, or Malibu, or, you know, whatever, even in Wichita, Kansas. So that's why it happens in areas like that. And of course they're going to go in and they're going to give the polio vaccine, and you know, that's great, you know, as long as it's, you know, I hope that it really does help. And but I think what you know, what we need more than anything is a little bit of peace. I'm going to like stop fighting wars for just like 10 years. It'd be nice to take a decade off, you know.
Listen, I've been around for a long, long time, much longer than you, and I can't remember a time that we were not at war.
Yeah.
I mean the United States.
Yeah, no, we might at war.
We might call it a police action. We might call it something else, but it's war.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think what was going on in the early 80s. Obviously 60s and 70s we had Vietnam, and then really in the early 80s, I don't think there. But I mean, the biggest thing I guess was the Cold War. I know that we had some things like we went and we bombed Gaddafi, and we did a little bit here, a little bit there. But we weren't directly involved in any live actions in the 80s, which was, and it's funny because, my generation, they call us Generation X, because we really didn't. But
we still had guys in Korea, maintaining the wall. We still had people at Guantanamo. We still had people worldwide. We still, like you said, we had the Cold War. Matter of fact, in the 80s, wasn't that we had Grenada, right?
Yeah, we had Grenada.
And we had the wasn't the Mayaguez around then too, and all that. It just seems like we're always shooting people.
Yeah, we're always at war. The world has just constantly been at war. People, I see people protesting war. I'm going, why are you protesting war? It's not ever going to go. I mean, I get it. You don't want war. I don't want war either. War sucks. It's horrible. But it has literally been a part of mankind as far as mankind can go back in recorded history. We've always been at war. We've always had, the Genghis Khans or the Shaka Zulus or the Hitlers or the Mussolinis or the Peter the Greats or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
The Roman Empire was called the Roman Empire not because they went out and handed out pamphlets, it's because they went and destroyed everybody. In our path.
That's right. Yeah.
Or
how about the Crusades?
Oh yeah, well the Crusades, yeah. I mean that was and again that was a reaction to that was even a reaction to 400 years of Islamic I don't need to use the word terrorism, but attacks.
Yeah.
The church finally went, we've had enough. You want to play? We're going to play. Let's play. Come on, we'll play now. And so for some reason they called it the Crusades instead of actually, standing up and saying, well, okay, it was the Crusades, but the reason for it was more of a, and I don't know if self-defense is the right term, because they went in, they just annihilated the enemy. Yes. They just went in, we're tired of you guys causing trouble. We really just want to live in peace. You won't leave us alone. So we're going to show you what we're capable of. And really since then, it was the Islamic extremists, kept to themselves for a few hundred years after that, and it was kind of nice. So that was, it was a much needed thing. Unfortunately, it was effective. Historically people look back at it and all they see is, the church went out and laid waste to everybody in their path as if that was their mission. Their mission was to just be left alone. And they went, okay, if you can't leave us alone, then we're going to show you what it's like to not leave us alone.
Wouldn't the world be a more peaceful place if everybody just minded their own business?
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. And we would be able to cure things like all of the diseases. If we just had peace, and you could
peace and cooperation. Yeah, peace and cooperation.
Yeah, there really is no reason for us to not have some sense of harmony in the world. And I mean, just look at what's going on right now. I think I saw a picture of Detroit in 1941 and or 1940, whatever it was, and then Hiroshima in the same year, of course, when it was bombed. And now it showed a picture of them today. And Detroit's a rundown rubble town, and Tokyo's this, or not Tokyo, but Hiroshima's this thriving city. And they're, of course, the thing was, the take home on was it's easier to recover from nuclear war than it is from democratic rule. But
you know what?
But even
there's more truth than that than a person wants to admit.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of truth to it, and it's really sad. But even in our own country, we got all this unrest, and we were told that this was gonna, we had leadership that was gonna make us better, and we were gonna live in a country that this was gonna be a thing of the past, and it's so much worse. I mean, we literally have in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right now, people rioting, burning down their own neighborhoods, attacking white people because a black man with a record and a stolen gun did the wrong thing towards the police, and the police shot him and killed him in defense.
Yeah.
And so the Black Lives Matter group decided that they were going to riot. And again, back to the same thing I said a few minutes ago, Obama's out playing golf right now, instead of doing the right thing, and that is standing up and saying, hey, you know what, this is not acceptable. You know, if he wants to be the first black president, he needs to stand up and say, look, you're my people. You need to stop doing this.
Well, and I don't think that he's actually encouraging it. But in any event, we are out of time, my friend. So what are we doing to talk about on Thursday?
On Thursday? You know, I don't know, man. What did we even talk about today?
You know what? Maybe on Thursday we can do the same thing. I mean, this has been phenomenal.
Yeah, we can definitely do the same thing. You know what? Maybe Thursday, if I'm still in the same mood as I am today, maybe we can talk about because this is something that's been on my mind lately because I've been in conversations with some other doctors and stuff with my own patients. Is what you can do to make your life a lot easier when you're working with a healthcare provider, because some people we can't say. You used to have the same thing, I'm sure, when you were in your practice. People that walked in the door, you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with this person again. Yep. So let's talk about that on Thursday.
That's a great idea. It's a great subject. Hey, my friend, have a terrific week. Make everybody happy. Make everybody glad that they know you, will you?
Same to you, brother. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to talking to you on Thursday.
All right.
Thanks,
take care. The rest of you folks, stick around. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk about the birthdays for today, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We got a lot of great stuff for you. And then coming up after that, well, it's our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:41 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 102 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Madrid, Spain, well, it's 77 degrees and it's cleared. If you're in Tokyo, Japan, it is 91 degrees and it is sunny. But you know what? Right now, it's time for us to do the Harvard Business Tip of the day. And the management tip today is the best leaders know how to really listen. You know, in a world of instantaneous global connection, one of the most authentic modes of communication still is just listening to someone. But listening can be a challenging skill to master. How can you build your ability? Start by creating space in your day. Block off time in your calendar to reflect on a recent conversation and to prepare for the next one. When a colleague or employee asks for advice, make sure you understand the situation. Before asking or answering, ask a question. Clarify what they really need and give people your full attention. Look them in the eye. Put down your phone and close your laptop. Leaders who make time for uninterrupted face-to-face conversation find that it's one of the best management tools available. You'll be glad you did. Your employees will be glad you did. The people you do business with will be glad you did. Well, it's time for our secret daily teaching for your life. This is all about a positive mental attitude. You know, you really do control who you are, what you are, the way you are. You decide if you're going to be happy, sad, rich or poor, successful or a failure. You decide if the people around you are going to be happy. It's all when you get up in the morning, you go into the bathroom, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, we're going to have a fantastic, productive, and profitable day today. Well, the lesson for today is whether you have been aware of your thoughts in the past or not, now you are becoming aware. Right now, with the knowledge of the secret, you are waking up from a deep sleep and becoming aware. Aware of the knowledge, aware of the law, aware of the power that you have through your thoughts. You truly can control everything in your life. Don't think for a minute that you don't. Now, you know what today is, don't you? Sure you do. Today is Tuesday, it's August the 16th, and it is somebody's birthday. Well, we have 4 birthdays today, and a couple of them are a little bit of a surprise. The first one is a fellow that was born in 1930, passed away last year, an American football player and announcer. Happy birthday to Frank Gifford. And here's the one that kind of surprising. This young lady was born in 1953, an American singer and actress, and was married to Frank Gifford. Happy birthday, Kathy Lee Gifford. You know what? And then here's a woman that most everybody in the world knows. Born in 1958, is an American singer and actress. Happy birthday, Madonna. And then finally, an American actress born in 1988. Happy birthday to Rummer Willis. Well, you ever wonder about what happened today in history? I'm going to tell you. On August the 16th, 1962, Pete Best replaced by Ringo Starr, Richard Starkey, as drummer for the Beatles. I bet you didn't know that Ringo Starr and Richard Starkey were the same guy. How about this? In 1977, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, dies from a drug overdose in his home in Graceland at the age of 42 years old in 1977. I can remember when that announcement came out. I was in my car on the freeway when they announced it. Wink Martindale, who was a good friend of his, was on KFI radio and made that announcement. Well, I'll tell you what, on August 16th, 1989, a solar flare from the sun creates a geomagnetic storm that affects microchips, leading to a halt of all trading on Toronto's stock market. Can you believe that? Well, here's our quote for today. The quote comes from Dick Werthimer. Dick says that the purpose of life is to fight maturity. Well, that makes sense. I think a lot of people are doing it, and successfully for that matter. Well, let's talk about those interesting but useless facts. We've got a couple minutes here. We can do this. Did you know that snake is a delicacy in China? Now, I think I don't remember. I think I've tasted rattlesnake, but I don't recall. Not something I just go rushing to, though. But it's a delicacy in China. Did you know that in Kentucky, it is illegal to carry ice cream in your back pocket. Yeah, well, go figure. Probably in Wichita, Kansas, too. Anyway, did you know that a pregnant goldfish is called a twit? Now, the next time you hear some English person calling somebody a twit, you know what they're calling them? A pregnant goldfish. Here's one for you. No two human outer ears, even your own, are exactly alike. Now, earology, as the system is called, was developed by supplement identification by fingerprints. Can you believe that? That's interesting. I didn't know that. I knew that one was higher than the other, but in different shapes, I guess. Did you know that Hans Christian Andersen, the creator of fairy tales, was word blind? He never learned to spell correctly, and his publishers always had errors. Yeah, can you believe that? Go figure. And the House of Lancaster, symbolized by the red rose, won England's War of the Roses. That's kind of interesting. And there's another one for you. Seawater is approximately 3.5% salt. Not so much if you think about it. So if you get out into the ocean, you literally could open your eyes in that salt water. It's not going to sting them as bad as you think. It's actually pretty good for them, and that kind of stuff. Well, did you know that bookkeeper and bookkeeping are the only two words in the English language with 3 consecutive double letters? Yep, there you go. Give that some thought. Can you imagine these people that have to sit down and figure out all this stuff? Man, they just got to get a life. That's got to be the most boring thing in the world. Here's another one for you. The first telephone exchange opened on January the 28th, 1878 in New Haven, Connecticut. Yep, been there. Well, not then, but been there. Let's see. How about this one? Did you know that during the Crimean War, the British Army lost 10 times more troops to dysentery than to battle wounds? Yeah, bad food, bad stomachs. That's it. Well, let me give you this last one. Next to the bone marrow, hair is the fastest growing tissue in the human body. Now, that's kind of interesting, I think. Well, at any rate, do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey in the rest of the story. Our story of today is about Horatio Alger. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Do not go away. We got a great story for you.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Dental Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay a great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 102 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Sydney, Australia, well, it's 61 degrees and clear. In Auckland, New Zealand, 54 degrees and clear. And in Lisbon, Portugal, 68 degrees and mostly cloudy. But right now, it's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. Yes, sir. You know what? Paul Harvey is in the rest of the story, he's the biggest and best voice in America, reveals the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. Paul Harvey, one of America's favorite radio and television commentators, heard in over 775 ABC radio stations and over 400 foreign stations, seen on 110 television stations, and read in 300 newspapers, recipient of numerous awards and honors, including 9 honorary degrees. He's on the Gallup Polls list of America's most admired man. What a man. Well, you know what? Here's his story. Horatio Alger's story. You know what? What you're about to hear is going to sound a lot like Horatio Alger's story. In fact, this is the Horatio Alger story. Horatio Alger, you remember, was the author who wrote all those success stories about fictional characters like Ragged Dick. The whole rags to riches idea is almost synonymous with Alger. You can imagine that this intensely successful author mirrored the successes of his book characters in his own life. And because of Horatio Alger's twofold successes, fiction and fact, generations of youth have been inspired by the notion that a poor boy with perseverance can become a millionaire. In many ways, Horatio Alger is the American dream. So much of that, so that he's been credited by some as single-handedly spurring the Industrial Revolution in the United States. So, here's the story of a poor boy born into an unhappy childhood on a Friday the 13th. Who rose to become one of the most entirely successful and highly paid authors of all time. This is the Horatio Alger story. From birth, he was undersized, underweight, susceptible to every imaginable childhood disease. In an age of comparatively primitive medicines and remedies, in a miracle that he survived infancy. At 2, Horatio developed a severe asthmatic condition. He was kept apart from other children through most of his youth, overawed and perhaps intimidated by his father, a stern New England preacher. He was slow to talk, and when he talked, he stuttered. As a young boy, Horatio's only friends were books. He seemed to develop his mind to compensate for a trail of independable body. At 16, he passed the entrance exams at Harvard, but his family wasn't able to foot the bill, so Horatio had to work his way through school. He became errand boy for the university president that entitled him to a free room and $1 a week. It wasn't enough. Horatio entered an essay contest and won. And the prize money kept him going for a while. During vacation, he earned money by teaching in country schools. Confidence crept into his life. At last, finally, he became able to support himself. His Harvard peers applauded his scholastic achievements. His writing improved. And by graduation, every trace of a once bewildered and sickly boy had disappeared. He overcame his awkward tongue-tied past and delivered his commencement oration without a stutter. When it came to his profession as writer, Horatio still had a difficult climb ahead of him. He wrote dozens of articles and received dozens of rejections. When at last publishers accepted a piece or two, there was no pay. Finally, professional recognition, $2 for 3 poems, hardly living. It would take years of determination for Horatio Alger's storybook success, 4 years till his first collection of short stories was actually published, 12 years for his first novel, but once he got his foot in the door, the perseverance paid off. In a short while, his yearly earnings would be comparable to $250,000 today. Writing up to 7 books a year, he soon became the most popular of popular authors. Some say the best-selling American author of all time. And each of those inspiring books was a variation on a theme, a prototype of his first successful novel, Ragged Dick. All of the Alger's fictional heroes were much like the original Dick Hunter, a boy boot-black on the streets of New York who rose from rags to riches on the wings of honesty, hard work, and a little bit of luck. Perhaps Horatio Alger believed himself to be Dick Hunter. His success was no less astounding and every bit as earned. So for generations of young Dick Hunters, Horatio Alger became the beloved embodiment of the American dream. The American dream is still good. Don't let anyone tell you different. But in any dream, our confidence comes from the confidence of our heroes. Horatio Alger was our hero. His success spurred us on. He was our mirror, reflecting the positive possibilities in the lives of us all. Yet, few knew that Horatio Alger, the striving young author who climbed to the summit of his profession, the man who, for the century, symbolized success, had in real life clawed his way from rags to riches, only to return to rags. You see, Horatio Alger died broke. And now you know the rest of the story. Now, don't forget to tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow's story is going to be all about Willem's passion. I'm not going to tell you about it now, but I will tell you about it tomorrow. Now, my next show, I'm telling you all about the hottest audit targets today, and I'm going to also answer your emails. Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless, will be here. He'll be talking about the new wireless technology and news, and I'll continue the tribute to our late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Please tell all your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. You'll be glad they did, I'll be glad you did, and they'll be glad you did.
Our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.